Alright guys, in today's video we're talking once again about Hideo Kojima, and we're going to have a conversation about a very interesting tweet that Kojima put out not that long ago. I think it was about 2 days ago as of the time of this recording, and I've actually seen some outlets reporting on this tweet, and I think that's understandable because what he's saying is pretty interesting, but I do think that there is a little bit more we can take from it, just from the way he's presenting it, the timing of it, what he's saying. There have been a ton of rumors lately, obviously, regarding Kojima Productions, regarding Silent Hill, regarding Sony, and even regarding Xbox. And I'm sure many of you watching this have been following the whole Blue Box Game Studios theories and everything we've been covering here. And we're not really going to be talking too much about that. We do have to bring it up at some point in this video because there is actually some speculation from individuals that what Kojima is tweeting about is actually in reference to PT, and it could be in a good way, it could be in a bad way. But some people also believe that what Kojima is tweeting is in reference to maybe some of the rumors regarding Xbox. For those who don't know, there were some rumors that stemmed from Jeff Grubb throughout the year, basically, where he's letting everybody know that Kojima is in talks to make a cloud game exclusive to Xbox. So it's going to be like a cloud-based game that would be exclusive to Microsoft. And yeah, it's really strange because there's a lot of people who do take Jeff Grubb's word on that, but seeing what Kojima's saying here, it makes me much more skeptical about any of that, to believe it at all, because what he's saying here, I'll just put it to you this way. If Kojima were to, after putting this tweet out, go and make a cloud-based Xbox game, which would be fine, like I would still play it, I would still be excited for it, I'm going to be excited for whatever Kojima does next, it would definitely make him look a little bit hypocritical because it's like it would be a bit, he's basically contradicting himself. So anyway, with that being said, I want to read the tweet that Kojima put out. So he put this out on August 5th, and it's a string of two tweets. He says, eventually, even digital data will no longer be owned by individuals on their own initiative. Whenever there is a major change or accident in the world, in a country, in a government, in an idea, in a trend, access to it may suddenly be cut off. He continues by saying, we will not be able to freely access the movies, books, and music that we have loved. I would be a have-not. That's what I'm afraid of. This is not greed. So what's interesting about this tweet is how loaded it is. Honestly, it's a loaded tweet because he seems very serious about it, which I don't blame him because we know that Kojima likes his physical media, but he's literally saying in this tweet, okay, he's saying that he's afraid of this happening. Now, he doesn't mention games, and some people have pointed this out. They're like, well, maybe this has nothing to do with video games, right? I find that hard to believe. I mean, he doesn't explicitly mention it. I think it's just implied he's talking about all media, including games. He talks about movies, books, and music, but, when you look at movies, books, and music, these are all forms of media that have pretty much, they're all widely consumed digitally at this point, right? I feel like video games are kind of one of the last forms of media where there's still a good chunk, like a good percentage of people who still are buying their video games physically. It's not like just collectors. It's not just a collector thing. There's still a lot of video games being sold physically. And I think what he's alluding to is that, like, he just doesn't want this all digital future. And so one of the things that people brought up with this is they're like, well, Kojima surely has to be referencing PT, right, with this. And for those who are not aware, although I'm sure most of you are aware, PT is no longer accessible. Konami basically scrubbed PT. The only way you can, as far as I know, gain access to PT is you have to acquire a PlayStation 4 with a functioning hard drive, and within that hard drive, PT has to be downloaded, and that's the only way you can play it. And what's interesting is apparently Kojima was, to an extent, thinking about PT when he made this tweet, because there was an individual who goes by the name Edward Torres on Twitter, and he responded to Kojima's tweet, and he said, "One of my favorite games and horror experience is digital only, and its access has been cut off to consumers. I'm always worried that something will happen to my hard drive and it will be gone forever. I would do anything for a physical copy to keep it preserved." And Hideo Kojima did retweet this, which there are a few implications to him retweeting this, okay? There's a few different ways you could read into this. One is that he's just simply making it known that, yes, he's talking about PT, and obviously, first, he's expressing here that, hey, I don't like the idea of digital only content, and I especially don't like the idea of that digital only content being scrubbed and removed, and he has no control over that, right? And that's exactly what happened to PT. And this person's pretty much saying like they would do anything for a physical copy of it. However, others are reading into this a little bit differently. They're reading into this, looking at it and saying, considering the timing of this, all of the rumors, right? You look at the abandoned app, which happens to be the same file size as PT, which, that could mean anything, but people have pointed that out. That's, it's out there on the PS5 right now. People are looking at this abandoned app and they're like, could this have something to do with PT? Could we get could PT come back? If Konami and Kojima, if the rumors and the speculation, it all turns out to be true, that they actually, mended their relationship, is it possible that they could bring PT back, especially knowing how many people would want to play it, how big of a deal it was? Is this Kojima, trying to very low key and very subtly hint that, hey, PT might come back and maybe it'll even get a physical release? I don't know. I think that's really stretching it. I really do think that's stretching it. However, we do have to acknowledge that with the abandoned real-time experience app, one of the things that happened more recently that people are looking at and they're like, what is this? Is when you click on the app itself and it opens, like anybody who uses the PS5, that it shows a screen for a second when it's like just booting up the game, and it shows a picture, and that picture can be whatever the developers want it to be. And when you click on the abandoned real-time experience app, you see a blurred image of what looks to be a door. Like it's a door and you're seeing it from the angle as if you're somebody standing in a room looking at a door. And many people have looked at that image and are like, that looks just like the door from PT. Like the first room you wake up in PT, you're in that small room and there's just a door that you have to walk through. A lot of people look at that image and are like, that's pretty much what that looks like, right? And we can't know for sure. The image is just too blurred. We would have to see it for what it actually is to know for sure. But again, you see these things and you're like, is there anything to this, right? Like, is there anything to this? And there might not be. And so I just wanted to present that angle. But something else I also want to talk about, as I alluded to earlier in this video, is just the idea that Kojima is going to go and make an Xbox exclusive cloud-based game. Some people have made fun of me for this, thinking that like I'm going to have some kind of meltdown or something if this happens. I'm really not. Like, it would be unexpected. I think it would definitely be unexpected, just given the close relationship that Sony and Kojima have had over the years. But if this is something that does happen, then okay, I'm interested to see what Kojima does. I definitely would prefer he doesn't make a cloud-based game, but he's a creator. He's free to do whatever he wants. Kojima Productions is independent. But on July 1st, There was an article written up by Jeff Grubb on GamesBeat, and the title reads, Hideo Kojima's deal with Xbox reaches key milestone. It says Hideo Kojima and Microsoft have signed a letter of intent that states the two parties intend to work out the details on a publishing agreement for a new Xbox game. According to a source familiar with the matter, this is a key step in the negotiations between the Metal Gear Solid creator and the Xbox company. This signifies that both parties have agreed to a generalized deal while lawyers continue hashing out the finer points. Microsoft and Kojima's teams have spent months discussing a possible partnership, and now it is more likely than ever that those conversations will bear fruit. The deal is so close that Microsoft has begun preparing for what Kojima will need to make his new game. Last week, Microsoft announced that it had hired Portal and Left 4 Dead developer Kim Swift to oversee partnerships for cloud-based games. Swift most recently worked at Google's cloud gaming service Stadia. Microsoft hired her with the purpose of assisting in making Kojima's cloud game a reality. So, yeah, that part right there, just, reading this tweet and then reading this from Jeff Grubb, it's like they don't mix. You know what I mean? They literally just don't mix. They're very much opposed. Continues by saying, as for what Kojima's game actually is, few people know. The point of the partnership is to unlock the creativity of Kojima Productions using Microsoft's technology as opposed to greenlighting a specific pitch. And so that's pretty much it. That's what Jeff Grubb is reporting. And as I've been saying throughout this video, it's just so bizarre to me that, Jeff Grubb seems very much adamant that hey, this is a thing that's happening. When it comes to Xbox stuff, he has had a pretty decent track record. So it's I don't know what to make of this. I mean, if I'm just going with my instincts here and just logic, I read this tweet from Kojima where he literally says, I'm afraid of this happening. I'm afraid of, the media that I enjoy and that I like, in books, movies, music, and I'm assuming games as well. I fear the day where it's it can just be erased and removed, and that's it. I don't understand why an individual who feels that way so passionately to the point where they tweeted out to their 3 million Twitter followers, and there's, articles being written up about it. I don't understand how that same person could then go on to be yeah, I'm going to go make a cloud game now. I mean, it's Kojima, that could very well be how his brain's working, where he's maybe because he's afraid of it, he feels like he has to embrace it. And that's an angle I could understand, where it's maybe just try something new. But I don't know. There's just so many weird things going on that it's hard to keep track of all of it. But this was something I saw, and I just thought it was very interesting that he retweeted somebody who mentioned PT. Kojima doesn't talk about it too much, obviously, but he's clearly referencing it. We see what's going on with the abandoned real-time experience app. Some weird stuff going on there. And then you throw in the whole Xbox rumor with all of that. It's almost I don't really know what to make of it, but if I had to come to some type of conclusion here, okay, and this is not wishful thinking. It's not. It's just I'm just making this assumption, or I'm coming up with my own conclusion based off of what I'm reading. I don't think Kojima's gonna make a cloud game. I don't. I would be surprised. I would genuinely be surprised, because it'd be oh, okay. I mean, this dude is he loves physical media. He cares very deeply about it. It's very important to him. He fears the idea of having that digital content just removed out, having the rug pulled out from under him. But I guess he's also gonna go on and make a cloud game. Okay, I don't, I don't see it happening. But, I could be wrong. Again, it's just a tweet from Kojima. We may be reading into it way too much, but this tweet happened to gain a lot of traction, and it gained a lot of attention. And yeah, at this point, I'm going to ask you guys to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you make of Kojima's tweet? Do you agree with what Kojima is saying? I'm assuming most of you will. And what do you think about Kojima retweeting an individual who referenced PT and the fact that PT was digital only and they would love a physical version of it? Just leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. That's going to do it for the video. Leave it a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.